You know, Diddy bought his son a Bentley. Maybe, you know, he could buy you one also while you're
He
out.
got me a Lamborghini.
Oh, well, that's nice.
I haven't gotten it yet, though.
Yeah, I know. When is that coming, that Lamborghini? We talked about this last
He
time.
had the Lamborghini for a day or two, and he had access to the house, and he knows better than to be talking about the things that he does with Big Brother Puff on national television.
There are moments on Joe Rogan's podcast where you can tell he's not just talking for content. He's talking because something's weighing on him. This was one of those moments. With a deep breath, he leaned forward, hands clasped like he was bracing himself. "This one hurts to talk about," he began. His tone wasn't dramatic for the sake of it. It was heavy, almost reluctant. The subject? Not MMA, not politics, not some wild conspiracy theory. It was a teenage Justin Bieber, and the 2 days he reportedly spent under Diddy's wing. 2 days that Bieber would later describe with a look that said more than words ever could. Joe didn't call it scandal, he didn't call it drama, he called it a tragedy in slow motion. And that was just the surface.
So many horrific accusations involving young singers, like children.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
It's insane.
He makes R. Kelly look like a decent guy.
Yeah.
It's so crazy.
It is crazy. And meanwhile, the guy was like hanging out with Oprah, hanging out with Obama.
Jay-Z,
Everybody.
I'm sure the Clintons were there at some point.
Maybe Bill.
The spark for this conversation wasn't a new album or a TMZ headline. It was an Instagram post. Joe was scrolling like everyone else, half looking at the usual mix of ads, memes, and photos, when he stopped. The image? A teenage Bieber, barely 15, with hair in his old sideswept style, eyes wide but tired. The caption? A gut punch. Bieber wrote about the unimaginable pressure of fame, the way it twisted his sense of reality, and how at that age, he was already drowning. Joe admitted, "I just sat there. I couldn't stop thinking this was a kid, a literal child." And if you think that's bad, the story behind that picture is far worse.
So check this out, yo. Justin, you ever seen the movie 48 Hours? Right now, he's having 48 hours with Diddy, him and his boy. They're having the times of their lives, like, you know, where we hanging out and what we doing. We can't really disclose, but it's definitely a 15-year-old's dream. You know, I have been given custody of him. You know, he signed to Usher.
Signed to Usher.
I had legal guardianship of Usher when you know he did his first album. I did Usher's first album. I don't have legal guardianship of him, but for the next 48 hours, he's with me. So
in the mid-2000s, Bieber's life was a whirlwind. Discovered on YouTube, flown to Atlanta, taken in by Usher, and signed to a massive label deal before he could legally drive. Usher was seen as the big brother figure, guiding him, keeping him focused on music. But at one point, Bieber was reportedly loaned to Diddy for a 48-hour mentorship. Mentorship. That's what they called it. Bieber himself would later bring it up in an interview, smiling, but with that awkward, half-nervous laugh. He said it was wild and different, but didn't go into details. And maybe that was the most telling part. What he didn't say. Joe's reaction? Man, I've been around this business long enough to know kids don't just leave out the good parts if something was amazing. They leave out the stuff they don't want to talk about. And what Bieber didn't want to talk about is where the rumors start. Let's pause here, because Joe made a point that hit hard. Bieber never had the life you and I had. No late nights at the diner with friends. No messing around at school worrying about homework. No awkward teen years to figure out who he was. Instead, it was flights, interviews, rehearsals, brand deals, and a microscope on every single move he made. Joe explained it perfectly. It's like being a lab rat in an open cage. Everyone's watching, and you can't get out. By 15, Bieber wasn't just famous, he was a global commodity. And it's in that kind of environment that certain people see opportunities.
What's going on with you guys? Are you working together?
I'm not. I mean, I think that we've become friends in a strange way, you know?
Like Robin Big.
Yeah, it's like, exactly.
I'm big and you're Robin.
Yeah, no, I mean, to a lot of us, he's like a little brother. You know what I'm saying? He's not afraid to call and ask for advice. He's somebody that, in the industry-wise, the record industry is a strong family, and he's somebody that, you know, we definitely have our arms around, and we want to protect him because he's such genuinely a nice person besides his talent. You know what I'm saying? He's one of the greatest kids that you could ever know. What's up, man? You good?
I'm good. How are you?
All right, young brother, everything's good?
Everything's
Selling
great.
out arenas and everything?
Yeah.
Starting to act different, huh?
No,
You ain't been calling me and hanging out the way we used to hang out.
Well, I mean, you tried to get in contact with me, you know, through all my, partners and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But you never really got my number, so.
Correct. Okay.
My number?
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you my number.
Yeah.
It's 555.
Yes. Okay.
5555.
Okay. 55. You heard that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Somewhere in that chaos, Bieber wrote something down. It wasn't a song lyric, and it wasn't a public post. It was a letter. It read, "I just want to go home. I miss my mom." When Joe read those words out loud, he went silent. There was this long pause, long enough for listeners to feel the weight of it. He didn't even add commentary at first. He just let it hang in the air. Because that letter wasn't just about homesickness. It was a cry for normalcy in a world that had stripped it away. And the people around Bieber at the time, they weren't exactly in the business of normal. For years, there have been whispers, some quiet, some not so quiet, about the way certain music moguls operate. Power, influence, access, and a tendency to blur lines that should never be blurred. With Bieber, the 48 hours he spent with Diddy became a point of speculation. What actually happened? No one outside that circle can say for certain. But fans noticed changes in how Bieber spoke about the industry afterward. Less naive, more guarded. Joe didn't accuse, but he did say this. If we can't even ask the question of whether kids are safe in this business, then we've already lost. And in Bieber's case, the warning signs were flashing early. For years, there have been whispers, some quiet, some not so quiet, about the way certain music moguls operate. Power, influence, access, and a tendency to blur lines that should never be blurred. With Bieber, the 48 hours he spent with Diddy became a point of speculation. What actually happened? No one outside that circle can say for certain, but fans noticed changes in how Bieber spoke about the industry afterward. Less naive, more guarded. Joe didn't accuse, but he did say this. If we can't even ask the question of whether kids are safe in this business, then we've already lost. And in Bieber's case, the warning signs were flashing early. As Bieber got older, the cracks started to show. Public outbursts, erratic behavior, vanishing from the spotlight, canceling tours. At one point, even Bieber himself admitted he was spiraling, struggling with trust, identity, and mental health. Joe connected the dots. He believed that what happened in those early years, both publicly and behind the scenes, played a major role in shaping the man Bieber became. And the scariest part? Bieber was one of the lucky ones. Joe's voice got firm here. He called for laws, real enforceable protections for young entertainers. He argued for mental health professionals on staff, strict supervision, and complete transparency when minors are involved. Because if we don't, Joe said, we'll keep seeing talented kids chewed up and spit out, and some won't make it back. It wasn't just commentary, it was a challenge to the labels, to the managers, to the fans who look the other way, because the next Justin Bieber might not survive it. Joe ended by reading Bieber's words one more time. I just want to go home. It didn't matter how many millions he had. It didn't matter how many arenas he sold out. In the end, he was still just a kid who wanted to feel safe again. And until that changes for the next generation, Joe made it clear, this conversation isn't going away.